For most of my life, I believed happiness was waiting for me somewhere in the future. Not today, not next week, someday, after I worked hard enough, after I became successful enough, after I proved myself. I wasn't chasing happiness. I was chasing the version of myself I thought would finally deserve it. When I was young, music came naturally to me. The first time I picked up a guitar, it felt like I'd found a language I'd somehow always known. I dreamed about becoming a rock musician, maybe even a session guitarist. Music wasn't just something I enjoyed. It was the place where I felt most alive. But there was another story I believed. Making it in music was almost impossible. I wanted stability. I wanted freedom. So I made a deal with myself. I would study something difficult, build a career, become financially secure. And one day, I'd come back to music. At the time, that felt like the responsible choice. So I chose computer science. Engineering challenged me in ways music never had. There were nights when I wondered if I'd ever finish. Concepts that refused to make sense. Projects that stretched into the early morning. Exams that left me mentally exhausted. Music had always felt like breathing. Engineering felt like climbing a mountain. But I kept climbing. Eventually, I graduated. I remember feeling proud. I had done something I once thought was impossible. I believed I was getting closer to the life I wanted. Then came the jobs, one after another. New offices, new teams, new beginnings. From the outside, everything looked like progress. A career, a paycheck, a title, the kind of life people congratulate you for building. But inside, something felt different. Every unexpected calendar invitation made my heart race. Every message asking, "Can you join a quick meeting?" made my stomach tighten. Most of the time, I delivered my work well. I solved problems. I met deadlines. Yet I lived with a quiet feeling that the ground beneath me could disappear at any moment. And sometimes it did. Over the years, I lost every software job I ever had. Some lasted a month. Some lasted over 3 years. One became my favorite because the people made work feel lighter. We laughed. We learned from each other. For a while, I thought I'd finally found where I belonged. Then that chapter ended too. Each time, I packed my things, walked out the door, and started over. For a long time, I wondered what success even meant. Was it keeping a job, earning more money, getting promoted, being respected? I wasn't sure anymore. What I did know was that every morning I woke up carrying a weight I couldn't explain. The work wasn't the hardest part. The fear was. Years passed. I kept saving, kept working, kept building a future that I hoped would eventually bring peace. And one day, something remarkable happened. I reached financial freedom, the goal I'd spent years chasing. I had saved enough money to live comfortably. The mountain I'd been climbing for so long was finally behind me. I expected fireworks, relief, a moment where everything suddenly made sense. Instead, there was silence, not empty silence, peaceful silence. For the first time in years, I wasn't asking myself how to survive. I could finally ask a different question. What do I actually want to do with my life? The answer surprised me. It wasn't another job. It wasn't a bigger paycheck. It wasn't another achievement. It was the same thing that had been quietly waiting for me since I was 15. Music, stories, creating, not because they made me rich, because they made me feel alive. Looking back, I don't regret becoming an engineer. It taught me discipline. It challenged me. It allowed me to build financial freedom. It gave me skills I'll carry forever. That chapter mattered, but it also taught me something I couldn't have learned any other way. Success and fulfillment are not the same thing. One can open doors. The other tells you which door is worth walking through. For years, I thought happiness was something I had to earn. Now, I think happiness was patiently waiting inside the things that had always made me feel most like myself. Playing guitar, singing, creating, writing, working out with friend at the gym, creating something that might help another person feel a little less alone. Sometimes we spend years climbing the wrong mountain, not because we're foolish, but because we genuinely believe that's where happiness lives. And sometimes the climb itself teaches us something invaluable. It teaches us what success can give us and what it never could. Success can buy time. It can create opportunities. It can provide security. But it can't tell you what makes your heart come alive. Only you can discover that. If there's one thing I hope you take away from my story, it's this. Don't wait until you've achieved everything to ask yourself what kind of life you actually want to live. Because the goal isn't to become successful at the cost of yourself. The goal is to build a life where success and the person you truly are can finally walk in the same direction. Today, I still love solving problems. I still enjoy writing code from time to time. But now, when I pick up my guitar or sing, or sit down to write one of these stories, I don't feel like I'm escaping my life. I feel like I've finally come home. Maybe happiness isn't waiting for us at the finish line. Maybe it's been quietly waiting for us to remember who we were before we started chasing everyone else's definition of success. Thank you for listening. And if this story found you at the right time, I hope it reminds you to ask one simple question. What makes me feel most alive? Because the answer to that question might be more valuable than any achievement you'll ever collect.